Yo, brand new episode of The Sweet Life.
Sweet Life.
Talking to my, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. This is a special one. We're actually in two. Obviously, we're at two separate locations right now. But our episodes usually are steeped in a number of different things. But this week we really wanted to jump into sports. Being again at a Super Bowl week, and we're both huge sports fans, so we're gonna tap in.
Dope. Yeah. Like you said, even though this is a little bit different for us, it's still us. We sports dudes. We love sports. We did predictions a couple weeks ago, and your prediction, you got one of your guys going in. I had the 49ers going in, but that was just an anomaly of a game. Like to get his shoulder like crushed like that in the first quarter. Them
in the first six plays?
Yeah, and for them to actually go through four quarterbacks in a season is pretty crazy.
and to still end up in the NFC Championship.
Yeah. Brock Purdy's a baller. I was hesitant, and we talked about this before. And he really came to play, man. I think he deserves that spot next year.
I think it's gonna be tough now because the injury that he has, I think it's like 6 to 8 months for it to heal, and then on top of it, you still got Trey. You know what I mean? Like Trey Lance, who it's always been like you don't lose your job to injury. You know what I mean? And he's also a high first round draft pick. They're very invested in him. So I'm curious to see how it all plays out. Hopefully they both heal. Like Trey, suffered a broken ankle, and then Purdy, like we said, his injury to his elbow where it's a complete tear. So I wish both of those guys a speedy recovery, a full recovery, and. It's
pretty much that Tommy John that the baseball players get. It's a brutal injury, but he's a young guy, so like you said, hopefully he bounces back. And but to switch it up, Super Bowl Sunday, man, Philly versus KC. First of all, it's monumental. We got to celebrate the fact that we got not one but two young brothers starting in the Super Bowl. It's never happened. You know what I mean? So we definitely got to celebrate that moment.
And two guys that are, up for the MVP. They're both in that conversation. I think Pat Mahomes is going to win the MVP. But Jalen Hurts, think about it. A year ago, they were undecided in Philly if he was the guy. Could he really be the guy? And that's something that he's faced. He was the guy in high school where he's from in Texas, and then he got to Alabama, and he played extremely well, and then to be pulled in the national championship game for Tua, and then Tua to become the starter, but then he goes to Oklahoma and then positions them almost, they get to I think they got to the college football playoff with him at quarterback.
Yeah. And
then again, he comes to Philadelphia, and people didn't believe but he finds himself. His grind is unbelievable. He's the son of a coach, so I think that helps. You know what I'm saying? Him being a coach's son, which is another thing that needs to be celebrated because it's about we hear that narrative far too many times. Like, are we capable of being leaders of men? Well. We always answer that question, but this is just a great story. Like you said, like we are celebrating two amazing quarterbacks. Pat Mahomes, I don't think we've seen anything like this. I've been arguing online with a lot of people. I don't think we've seen anything like this. If you take into consideration Pat Mahomes, this is his 6th year in the league, but remember he didn't play the first year because Alex Smith was still there. So this is his 5th year as a starting quarterback, and he's led them to 5 consecutive AFC championships. This is their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. He won the MVP, the NFL's MVP award in his first year as a starter. Mm-hmm. And even then was a play or two away of taking them to the Super Bowl then. You know, they lost to Brady and the Patriots, but I mean, his first 5 years, we haven't seen anything like this. So this is special. 2 very dynamic quarterbacks. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. I love Jalen Hurts. You know, I love what he's done this year. But it's hard for me to bet against Pat Mahomes. I know he's the high ankle sprain. The receivers are all banged up. Everybody's banged up at this time of the year, but they are really, really banged up. But I feel like dude's going to get it done. I feel like they're going to get it done. I think it's going to be an extremely close game. But I think in the end, I think Pat Mahomes and those guys, they lift up the Lombardi trophy.
Man, it's tough. Like, it's just really tough to root against Mahomes because of what he can do, what he's capable of doing with the ball in his hand. It's very Tom Brady. It's very Michael Jordan. It's very, like, you talk about a closer. Yeah. If the game's on the line and they're within reach, he gonna do something, you know.
I remember last year. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I agree. I think it's gonna be a tough game, and I don't even know where to call it. I feel like it's gonna be whoever makes the least mistakes is gonna win the game. Because I will say, Philadelphia's defense looked pretty tough. I know everybody struggles with Kelsey. He's just a beast. I think KC has some decent receivers. I think Mahomes just knows where to put the ball, so he gets the best out of people. But, you know, I feel like it could go either way. But I'm going to agree with you. I think KC pulls it off. I just think Mahomes, you know, plays at a different level, you know, and they caught fire. They caught fire at the end of the season. You know, so I just think they're grooving, but I'm excited to see a really good game. It's always cool to watch it from actual fans' perspective and have no skin in the game because I don't root for. You know, everybody knows I'm a Bears fan, which is not much to talk about, but right now. But I'm excited for a good game.
What do you got? The Bears? Where are y'all drafting at?
We got the number 1 pick.
Oh, shoot.
But we don't need...
Y'all already got a quarterback.
Yeah, and there's so many teams that need quarterbacks, so I'm hoping that they trade down because the guy we want out of Alabama, the edge rusher, what's his name?
Oh, Will Anderson.
Will Anderson. I feel like he'll be still available at around 4 or 5. And I feel like you may be able to get 3 draft picks, you know, from trading down because the first 3 spots, I feel like, you know, the first 2 spots at least are going to be QBs.
Are you good with your current quarterback? You feel like
I am. I feel like he needs some vets around him. He also needs some good route runners. Everybody's just so young around the team, and then Darnell Mooney got hurt first few games. They brought in a couple guys that were kind of like mid-level, you know, tier dudes. They don't have like a number 1 receiver. The O-line was pretty beat up. I mean, he ran for over 1,000 yards, but he was running for his life the whole season. But I saw the Chargers are probably going to cut Keenan Allen because financial. And I'm like, yo, if we can land him or anybody can land him, that's huge. We got a really good running game. The defense has to get stronger, but I think they're going to have a good season. They got a ton of cap space.
Who's the OC? Who's the offensive coordinator?
Luke Getsy. He came from the Packers regime. He did some games decent, some games really felt like regression, but also too it could be personnel.
Yeah, I think dude's skill set is where I feel like they should take a page out of. They have two great examples in Jalen Hurts and in Lamar, where these two offensive schemes have been tailored around these two players, and I think that they have to figure out a way to do that.
Yep.
For your guy.
And that's when having somebody like Travis Kelce, the tight end from Philly, his name's escaping me, but he's good. He's really good too, because when you have a solid tight end, that helps so much with freeing open the middle of the field, check downs, which opens the deep ball up. But again, who do you think is going to be the X factor in the Super Bowl? We know Mahomes, we know Jalen Hurts, but who do you think, could be the X factor?
I think it for Kansas City, there's two. The whole defensive unit has got to play a great game. They have to get pressure on Jalen. But they also have to stay disciplined and stay in their lanes and not let him just, run outside and, get to the edge and, eat up yards on him like that. So they got to be disciplined. They got to get some takeaways. They have to get some takeaways. But Frank Clark and Chris, what's his name? The other the dude who's up for defensive player of the year too, who played amazing the other night. You just have to. They've got to get pressure. They got to get pressure upfield, but stay in their lanes and everything. And then for Kansas City, Kelsey's going to do his thing, but somebody other than Kelsey, Juju, probably they gotta make plays. They gotta have at least 80, 90 yards in receiving minimal and a touchdown. But again, I think ultimately the defense has got to play well, because again, we're talking about Pat Mahomes. The last game, I think he hit 5, 6, 7 different receivers. So, but the defense has got to play really well. Who's the X factor? Who do you think on Philadelphia, or just period?
The Slim Reaper for Philly. You know what I mean? I think they got to get the deep ball. They gotta establish the deep ball, and also the run on both sides. I think that's probably the thing that lacks the most for KC is they just historically the past few years haven't been able to really run the ball as much. So Mahomes got to put up 50 passes a game, which of course ups your level of possible interceptions and stuff like that. So I feel like whoever can establish a little bit of a run game, a decent amount of it, also will have an advantage. So, in both of them.
Pacheco's been balling.
He has.
For Kansas
He's
City.
been
Pacheco's
balling. But a lot of those are like swing passes and out the backfield, but he got some speed on him. So
I just saw Hilaire's coming back.
Oh, word.
Yeah, because somebody else they put on IR, so Hilaire's going to be playing. And then our guy over here just reminded me, Chris Jones on defense.
Yeah.
I don't want to disrespect Chris Jones. Chris Jones, he got to be crazy. But Pacheco, they just he got to play. Everybody's got to come play. This is like I said earlier, everybody's banged up at this point in the season, but you got to suck it up and be like, yo, we going on vacation after this, but I got to suck it up. And that's what we saw from Mahomes in the last game, like that run, you know what I'm saying? And then the 15-yard, the excessive penalty, but that run, he was like, yo, my ankle's killing me, but I gotta get this first down. You know what I'm saying? To keep this drive alive and to get us in field goal range. And again, which is why, I believe in him. I believe that he will make the necessary plays to have them hoisting the Lombardi at the end.
I'm gonna change my bet because I feel like we can't both be going for the Chiefs. There's only one Chief. Can. There's only one Chief that can win this Sunday, and that's me.
Okay.
So I'm going the Green Machine. I'm going Philadelphia.
Okay, what's the score?
The score, I feel like it's not going to be as high as the score as we think. I think it's going to be 28-21. Philadelphia.
Okay.
And if you want to put a little friendly wager on it, like we could do that. Like if I win, you wear a Eagles jersey. You know what I mean? If you win, I'll wear a Chiefs jersey, which is a no-no for somebody who also pulls for the Raiders.
Yeah, super no-no. You would never do that at Allegiant.
I know.
And is a Vegas resident.
Crazy. Vegas, man. What do you think? Aaron Rodgers, he going?
Wow.
Been a lot of banter between like him and Devontae and like
See, this is how they do us though, because I mean one of the other top headlines in sports, which we'll touch on, is Kyrie Irving, who I thought was for sure going to end up in a Laker or a Clipper uniform. Never dreamed the Dallas Maverick uniform. So going back, like there's always so much misdirection. But I truly believe, or maybe this is more of a wishful thinking, just because I love to see it, because I love the story and narrative. I could see Aaron Rodgers being in San Francisco next year. I could see, especially with the injury to Purdy, I don't believe those guys firmly believe in Trey Lance yet. And they could have 2 years to be mentored under an Aaron Rodgers who still got 2 years of good football left in him, especially with the weapons up there. McCaffrey, you know what I'm saying, Debo, Kittles, like, come on. And that defense, like, that's a quarterback's dream, which is why Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, excelled. So imagine Aaron Rodgers getting the keys to that car. And he's a Berkeley guy.
I just think he'd have to rework his contract so crazy because I think he's due like $30 million this year. And I think that's going to be the hard part for any team, even the Raiders, because the Raiders, I don't know what they still owe Carr.
And they're talking the Jets, though. They're saying the Jets are like a viable option to him, which is weird because if you think about it, when Brett Favre, he first retired, he went to the New York Jets. Yeah. So it's kind of weird, but yeah, we'll see. You know, I like the old guard, but Tom Brady retiring. Speaking of which, Tom Brady, now that I believe this is the final retirement, some people are quick to, is he the GOAT? Is he the GOAT in sports, period? Or is he just the GOAT for football? Or is he even the GOAT in football, in your opinion?
Definitely the GOAT as far as quarterbacks in football. I mean, it's hard to go against those accolades because he did it in multiple, that's a 20-year career. I think besides this past year, and they were depleted, but he didn't play. It looked like he should be retiring. But for what he did over those span, of those 19 years, it's pretty remarkable. You know what I mean? And that's not only just the setting records and the winning the Super Bowls, but the comeback games. I mean, how do you have to cement this guy? They were, what was it, Atlanta, the Falcons, when they were down 28 to 3 or 10? Mm-hmm. And to come back and win that game, he's done that time after time after time after time. And a lot of people at first were like, oh, it's the systems he's in. You can just plug him in anywhere, which a system works, but it also, the player, the instincts, the intangibles, those kind of things. And and I'm not a Brady fan at all as far as like, rooting for him or anything like that. But I can't, you can't dismiss like what he has been able to do, for that long of a time. It's it's the same thing with LeBron. Jordan will always be my GOAT, but you can never dismiss the impact and what LeBron's been able to do over 20 years, the way he's been able to keep his body, the way he's been able to dominate. You can say other things, but I can't take that away from him. And I think it's the same thing with Tom. But I'm excited, like you brought up the old guard. I'm excited for these new guys. I think there's a lot of new, amazing guys, and I hope that they're able to have these long withstanding careers and they don't get, if they have a bad season or, they don't perform in a certain way, that they don't get shuffled around or pushed out the league. But
which is why I'm so excited, and I think that why you're so excited that we got two young brothers playing in the Super Bowl head to head. I'm excited because even with, I'm a fan of Joe Burrow. I'm actually a fan of Joe Burrow. I'm not a fan of Simpson, but I'm a fan of Joe Burrow. I actually became a fan of his. The first time I saw him play live was LSU and Alabama when Tua was the quarterback, and he was the quarterback, when he won the Heisman. And I was like, this kid, ice water in his veins. And then I got to see him again in the SEC championship against Georgia, and then finally the national championship against Clemson. And so I'm a fan of his. But what I didn't like the weeks leading up to, or the week leading up to the matchup against Pat Mahomes, is all of a sudden Joe Burrow has eclipsed Pat Mahomes. Yeah. And then and it's also the narrative. It's like, well, Pat Mahomes is exciting and plays the position different, but when we're talking about quarterbacking, which this was made by, I think, Dan Orlovsky or whatever is the guy from ESPN, the best quarterbacking guy is Joe Burrow. And I'm like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Because first it's like we got issues where, the IQ is not as high, and then you can only beat us with athleticism. You know what I mean? They always like revert to this, your legs are beat. Pat Mahomes is beating your ass with his arm. Pat Mahomes is beating your ass with his IQ. Pat Mahomes is beating your ass with his ball placement. And the fact that he, doesn't have Tyreek Hill this year, which was another thing that they were like, well, we're going to see without Tyreek. Well, Tyreek, amazing player, but Tyreek is on vacation. You know what I mean? And Pat is going to AZ right now. Yeah. So I don't like that. Same thing with it was Josh Allen before that. The year before, so Joe Burrow was this year. Josh Allen was last year. He's the guy that's already eclipsed Pat Mahomes. And you're like,
he's a pure passer.
The pure passer, the cannon of an arm, and he's tough. And you're like, so why does the goalpost keep moving where black quarterbacks are concerned? Like, now we're moving the goalposts again. And you got to think, a couple of years ago, 15, 20, whatever it was like some of the guys that were in college, who whether it was like, if you know about like Major Harris or, some of these guys, Major Harris who played at West VA, or some of these other guys that played, they would be able to play now.
Cordell Stewart.
They could have careers, you know what I mean? It's like we're so quickly, it's like the black quarterback is quickly, he has 1 or 2 bad years, it's a wrap. He's out of the league, he can't whatever. Whereas you got guys like Fitzpatrick, who's played for everybody. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you just gotta be, I mean, you gotta be a full package now, because even the defense has evolved. The defensive linemen are no longer just a 300-pound, like, these dudes got wheels on them.
Super wheels.
The linebackers from side to side are catching, running backs out. They got speed now. They got speed. They have length.
You see defensive tackles making plays 15, 20 yards down the field.
Yeah. So if anything, as a quarterback, because Josh Allen, he'll pull it down and take off too. You know what I mean? But like you said, the goalpost moves when it's that, because it's like, oh, that's it. But Mahomes will throw 40 touchdown passes in a year, and
did it this year. 5,300 yards, I think. 40 touchdown passes. I think his passer rating or something is like 105. You know what I'm saying? And again, they're playing in the last game of the season, which is the game that you want to be playing in. Did you have a chance to watch the Pro Bowl, whatever it was, the flag football?
Goofy time. You know what? I like the skills challenge. That's the one when I turned it on, they were doing that where they were hitting the targets. That was cool. But then right after that, they started doing a water balloon toss. I was like, oh, I'm cutting this off.
And they were playing dodgeball. I was like, yo, for real, I don't want to pay
just cut them a check for being a Pro Bowler and let them get on with their summer.
Or like, can we go back to the way it was, which is the Pro Bowl is a week after the season ends and it's in Hawaii. That's it. Either or. Because think about this. It's like, well, we don't want to risk injury. I heard that, what's his name? Somebody suffered a toe injury yesterday, which could be like, you know what I mean?
They had them jumping off like trampolines and like.
You can still get playing flag football, you could still get an ACL injury. You can still blow a knee. So what is it really about? Like, it's just bogus. I was like, yo, I can't watch this. I was like, I'm cool.
Again, it's just like the old way of thinking, and then them, okay, the game isn't working no more. People aren't watching. Let's do a bunch of like random things. But now people are just like, I feel like it's like the equivalent to what the dunk contest in the NBA has been the past few years. Like, yo, just don't even have it if it's going to be this bad. You know what I mean? But
if you're not going to put the guys in it that people want to see, like, don't have it.
But again, I think it's the NFL owners and whoever else, like, they don't actually go to the players and say, okay, what does the Pro Bowl weekend look like for you guys? What would you like to see? What do you think would be entertaining for the fans and engaging, but also a way to honor, your achievements for the year? Because I guarantee none of them would have been like, yo, this water balloon toss or jumping off of a trampoline and, those kind of things. Like,
next we're going to have hot dog eating contests and shit. Like, what the like, you know what I mean? I'm like, yo, this is terrible. Like, I don't want to see this, and I'm a real fan, and I feel like you're hurting the game. Like, no one wants to see flag football. If y'all don't want to do it, just say, yo, again, like you said, write them a check. In the season at the Super Bowl in the NFL honors and call it a day.
That's it. Yeah.
That's just it. And the all-pro team and the Pro Bowlers all come up on stage, you know what I'm saying, from each conference, and you call it a day. But like they messed it up, like I said, from the beginning when they moved it to the week before Super Bowl. Well, dumbass, I want to see the best players play, and if a lot of the best players have gotten their teams to the Super Bowl, they're not going to be in the Pro Bowl. So again, it needs to be post the Super Bowl, and it was It was like a week afterwards, And it was dope because it would be like Pro Bowl would happen, and then you would have All-Star Weekend for NBA like the week following. It was just a dope string of events. But yeah, man. Listen, here's the other thing I was gonna ask you. So Kyrie, Dallas trade. I don't know, but just prior to us getting on, I'm watching ESPN, and they had Bill Walton on. And Bill Walton, listen, man, if you want to, I'm not absolving Kyrie of anything. I'm not here to absolve Kyrie of anything. I'm a fan of Kyrie, the basketball player. Don't know him personally, but I am a fan of his philanthropic, you know what I mean? Like, the dude is, I love what he's doing for his community. I love that he brings awareness to the Native American community and just indigenous communities, period. But Bill Walton's comments were, in my opinion, extremely harsh and disrespectful. He literally said, Kyrie is not living a life of honor and loyalty. And I'm
but you got to think, though,
okay,
Bill Walton comes from the Bill Russell era, where Bill Russell...
he's a little older. He's a
little
younger.
older, but Boston...
A little younger, excuse me.
But still, Boston...
Okay.
He's a hippie child. He was around, like, during all those things, and I don't know if you got a chance... I don't know if it's out yet, but the Bill Russell doc, I learned a lot about him, but I think when the older people look at it, they go... All right, you got Bill Russell, who played in Boston during a time of, like, racial tensions at the highest. He never felt at home. The way they try to run him out of the neighborhood he lived in, but every day he went to work and put on and won championships. And he talks about, like, how uncomfortable it was. He never felt like Boston was home. None of all the outside things that were going on for him, but when he put on that uniform, it was time to get to work, no matter what he was getting paid. So I think a lot of, like, the newscasters, especially who were a little bit older and might have, been through those things, they almost look at it as like, what are you complaining about? You know what I mean? And I do definitely think there's something internally with the Nets ownership where people do not want to play for this guy. Because anybody that goes there is like, yo, get me out of here. You know what I mean? But also,
immediately.
I love Kyrie. I think he's probably top 3 ball handler, point guards.
Skill player of all times. He's skilled.
I think he is in a constant battle of his professional and his personal... You know what I mean? They're tethered together in a way that makes it hard for people to understand, like, mentally, like, what he's feeling and what he's going through. You know what I mean? And even for me, like, I'm saying this is just my assumption, but it's like when you work, and I always was like this when I worked for a company. I'm so loyal to the company that I'm not able to put that this isn't my company and this is how I should be personally, to separate that. Like, it all bleeds together, and that affects, like, everything. You know what I mean? And I feel like he has not had the ability of, like, being somewhere, because this isn't the first place. You know what I mean? And I think that's the other thing too, is like, he always seems to be not happy where he's at, whether it's Boston or Cleveland. At Cleveland he didn't want to be under LeBron's shadow. Now all of a sudden he wants to go be with LeBron again. So I think it's like those kind of things. It is interesting, and I think that's why these GMs and people are hesitant on giving him the extension and the money that he warrants as a basketball player, because they don't know if they're going to get personally and professionally.
And here's the thing: did he sign an extension? Not that I'm aware of, right? So you're gambling. You're gambling that you're going to be able to convince him to stay.
Yeah, it's a rental, and it's not going to... Mavericks adding him to their roster doesn't help them out, because their lack is in defense. They're deficiently. They can't play defense. They don't really have a number 2 guy. You're adding a number 2 guy scoring, but another guy who can't play defense. You know what I mean? And I think, like you said, everybody ultimately knows. I think he wants to be in LA. He wants to be a Laker. But then also, too, I think they were reading that he wants a 4-year max deal. Lakers would only want to give him a 2-year max deal because they're trying to line it up with what's left with LeBron and ADs because they don't know what they're going to do past those 2 years. You know, so again, like these players put everybody in a tough position, but also think the ownership does. The ownership, look, they look at it as a business. It's a business to them. Period. So to my point, or to our point, the players. So it's okay. It's like the narratives that come up. You know, I remember a time when different sport, but Eli Manning's the number 1 overall pick, and his dad and all of them just went straight up and were like, if you pick him, he's not playing. He's not going to play here. He's not ever going to play here. It wasn't, but if that would have been someone else, they would have been like, you should just be so excited about playing in the NFL. But for him, it was like, no, this is just business. We're not going to, you know, Archie was beat up a lot when he played. He didn't have a great offensive line, and we're not going to have him playing in San Diego, which ended up, you know, he got traded to the Giants or whatever. But my point is Steve Francis, a couple of years later, would get picked. I want to say he got picked by Vancouver or somebody, and he was like, I don't want to play there. And everybody lost their mind. You know what I mean? But he did the same thing that Eli did. Or again, also the ownership. When they say it's time for you to go, they don't ask you. They're just like, yo, I want to move you for the next great player. That's it. I get to move you. So I think the players, like, while I don't like it, because I would love to see teams stay together 5, 6, 7 years. The core people. It's not the world we live in currently. So with that being said, you know, I'm not mad at these players. And also the other thing is we don't know. We assume, not us, but the general public assumes like it's as simple as this. It's about money and da-da-da-da-da. And it could be that Kyrie has an issue with Joe Tsai in his company Alibaba and things that we've heard. So like it's not so black and white. You know what I mean? And I think the players, they take the brunt of the bullshit while everybody else gets to escape with no accountability. Say, when it comes to like contracts in the NFL, in the NBA or whatever, what is proven is that if you show your value and you do what you got to do when it's contract time, you're going to get the money. You know what I mean?
Get the bread.
Like, imagine if Kyrie finished the season, no matter how he felt, they're mid-season, and they went second round of the playoffs, but he balled out, and then he was like, "Yo, I'm out of here." Like, people gonna cut him the check because they're like, as a business, you're investing into him, and you're going like, "Yo, he balled out. He's showing proof. Like, this is what he did. Yeah, we want this guy on our team." But
so you feel like it's about the people are upset more that it's just ill time. It's not good timing.
Yeah, because this
sucks.
is a track record of his, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's not the first time he's done this. There's been an issue at every stop he's been at, you know, and you know, we're all allowed to have gripes, and we're all allowed to have our personal stance on things. We're all allowed to, feel a certain way, and if you want out of a situation. But until you're out of that situation, you got to just show and prove. You know what I mean? Like, you got to just go out, because also too, it affects the rest of the team? You know what I mean? Like, what did the rest of those guys that are on your team? What did Jock Vaughn do to you? What did KD do to you? What did some of these young players that might look up to you as a mentor do? You know what I mean? Like, so
I've seen some sound bites though. They said that he's an incredible teammate.
I'm sure. I 1,000% believe like he's an amazing guy, but I just think like for owners in business, they don't look at it like that. They don't care what he really stands on. They don't care that he's philanthropically involved in all these things. They're like, yo, do you come to work every day? Are you putting us in the position to win? Are you good in the locker room? And that's all they look at. And that's why I feel like there was the vendetta with like going to the Lakers. He's like, ain't no way I'm going to trade you to the Lakers because that's where you want to go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would I?
He would have sent them to Cambodia. If Cambodia had a team,
I don't know why anybody is surprised about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, it's going to be interesting. He's a free agent next year. I don't know. Like, maybe he goes on and the Mavericks end up, playing really good and, they bring him back or somebody is willing to cut him his check. He's worth the money. But I feel like he needs to take a little bit of stock maybe in himself and say, like, where's the balance for me? You know
That's
what I mean?
fair. That's fair.
Where's the balance between work and how I feel? Because this is everybody knows, I'm sure almost every athlete professionally will tell you it's a nasty business. You know what I mean? It is what it is, but a lot of people go in there and they're like, yo, I'm going to make as much money as possible. I'm going to ball as hard as I can, and then I'm getting out of here. I mean, you look at Tom Brady, not comparing, but he made $300-something million over the course of his football career. He just signed a 10-year, $300-something million to become an analyst. There's a lot of money on the back end to be made, but people don't have to want to do business with you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You already know what I'm about to say.
For sure.
They are not giving at the end of Pat Mahomes' career or at the end of Randy Moss's stellar career or anybody else.
No.
They're not giving us $375 million to talk on TV.
Absolutely not.
I want to know what Perk is making and Swagoo and all them guys. They not making $375.
Absolutely not. You know what I mean? But, I mean, that's anything. Like, we can go through any business and be like, why is this guy, why is this guy the CEO of, like, and again, it's the guard. It's who's in these front offices,
who's in these positions,
these businesses, like even what we do. And one thing that resonated with me with the Grammys last night was Lizzo's speech. And she referenced Prince, and she said, when Prince died, I dedicated myself to make a positive music and a positive change. I knew that would take longer. She said that. I knew that would take longer. But I stuck with it, and look where it at. And I feel like that's resonates. I
was going to call you. I swear to God. I was going to call you. We see it every single day, man. Like these things that perpetuate us as a culture, as a people, that we get caught up in, that perpetuates more violence, more anxiety, more hate. And that's what everybody gravitates towards. And when you take the latter route, it just takes longer. I think Stephen A. and Jay Williams were bickering on, Sports Center this morning about Kyrie. That's going to be a huge thing because you got two brothers bickering and going at each other. That's what people want to see. You know what I mean? And we have to stay the course. We have to. I wish Kyrie, I know he feels no sense of doing it, but I would love to see him sit down and, like, really talk about, like, him as a human, as a person. Because just be honest. I think it'll help.
Yeah, I think it'll help. Give people insight. Tell your truth. And because we love, as people, we love to demonize people, right? Without knowing, and if people don't defend themselves or get in front of it, then it makes it that much easier. But I think, there's so many people with good hearts and who might be truly misunderstood. There's some people that are just crazy and got their own stuff going on, but I think there are truly a lot of people that are misunderstood, but they just don't really care enough to like get in front of it. But, you have to stay the course, and the positive impact on people, I think that's what people are looking for. And whether it's sports, music, or whatever, we get caught up in the craziness, but people want goodness.
They want goodness. Inherently, we want goodness. That's what she said, and that's why I don't know. So right after the Grammys, I watched the Grammys at home, which was a different experience because last year I was there and it was, but it's cool. It was actually perfect. Watched the Grammys at the house with the fam, and the other thing what I was gonna say, what came on afterwards, after the Grammys, I watched, I don't know if you've heard about it, but the documentary on Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, formerly Chris Jackson.
Yep.
Yo, same thing. You know what I mean? Like, and he was in way deeper waters because we didn't have social media.
Yeah.
He was in a totally different time. And if you have a chance to, the viewers, the podcast listeners, if you have a chance to see a documentary, please see Stand. It was and is an amazing, amazing piece. And it reminded me of Kyrie a bit, Chris Jackson's plight. He talked about, you got to see it, but he talked about going fully broke. He was like, I was broke, not I was broke because, I lost, I couldn't play in the league anymore. And he didn't live extravagantly. He actually was building a home in Mississippi, which someone burned down. KKK was scrawled across it, so they, but home burnt down to the ground. And, obviously at that time it was because he was basically, they believe, blackballed out of the NBA because he would not, he prayed during the national anthem. He actually, he sat 4 to 6 months, but then someone talked to him. He's like, okay, I'll stand, but I'll pray during the national anthem. And ended up, again, blackballing him. And if you see this guy's skill set, even now to this day, if you watched him in the
Big Three.
What is it, the Big Three? Yo, wet.
Yeah.
Like wet, but it was
check it out this week.
Yeah, you should check it out. Going back to the Grammys before we get out of here, or a couple other things. 50th year of hip hop.
It's dope.
Did you watch the?
Stro was up there. Shout out to the
Stro
cousin.
Elliott.
Shout out to the Roots, man. Questlove. I think he did an amazing job. I know there were a lot of people going back and forth like, oh, you didn't include this, you didn't include that, but how do you include 50 years of hip hop in 11 minutes? You know what I mean? You just can't do it, and I know there, mass appeal. A lot of people are doing things around Hip Hop 50. Shout out Peter, Annie, the whole Mass Appeal team. They're building a hip hop museum, so I know there's more. But I thought it was super dope. You know what I mean? I was hoping Andre came out during Outkast.
I was hoping too when it came on. You like, oh, it's Dre walking out.
But it was dope, man. It was a beautiful moment. Excited about that. I don't really put too much, stake in the Grammys because it's just very, it's subjective, it's biased, and if you do that, and then it's crazy too. Like everybody talks about like the Grammys doesn't, justify me or whatever, but then everybody complains about now. It's like
not winning.
Let's go let's win some NAACP awards. Let's win these Soul Train awards. Let's win these BET awards. Let's, figure out how to carry our people and But overall, I thought it was a cool night. Jay and Khaled and Ross and Wayne, like Emery at the table, OG Juan, just dope moments. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Yo, we need to talk to Emery because we need that East Hampton Hove bucket. Them shit.
It's hard.
Yo.
Hard, huh?
What?
Yeah.
Them joints was hard.
Emery's the king of the bucket.
We're gonna
get the OG on one day.
We gotta have him on.
I think I just want to say we appreciate like everybody who's been on the journey with us for it ain't even been 6 months yet. It's legit and it feels like a long time, but continue to support. Like, subscribe, drop comments.
Please,
we got a lot of dope things coming up, and we're really powering this machine. A very small group of us.
This is real independent. When they say independent,
we on it. We on it. And in this episode specifically, make sure you dive in. We got some DraftKings promos running. Codes that'll get you some bonus bets and stuff. And no, this is dope. Our first time doing a little virtual too, so we may tap into these, occasionally too for some bonus episodes. But anything else?
Again, like you said, just tremendously thankful for everybody who is, been on the ride with us and people who are jumping on jumping in the car with us now. Like, we can see it. We can see the growth. And again, it's appreciated. Like you said, got some amazing things coming up. Including tomorrow. I see you tomorrow. Yo, I'm geeked. But I'll see you tomorrow. And yo, man, why don't you sign off, man? You better sign off.
You tuned in, about to tune out. Another amazing episode of A Sweet Life. Chief Johnson, Malik Rasheed, from an undisclosed location in Southeast Asia. We'll catch y'all later. Go Eagles.
Here you go. Peace.
All right, y'all. Peace.